So Persona 5R has finally been revealed as Persona 5 The Royal, and all we know so far is that a new, unnamed female character with red hair is likely going to be a heavy focus of the new content, whether she's just a new member of the cast or a new protagonist altogether. And with my favorite game back in the public spotlight, I thought there's no better time than now to talk about my favorite character.
I finally found a place where I belong.
Wake up, get up, get up.
I've awakened to a new power. It must have been fate for this to happen. I can feel it. Myself. Me. I will not lose heart again. Ever. I'll go full speed, non-stop. Fist of justice!
Hey kids, this is Ben from CH3, and I am finally beginning my series of character spotlights starring my beloved Phantom Thieves. I had intended to start this series weeks ago, right after the Persona Waifu video, thanks to everyone who watched that one by the way, but admittedly I got a little too distracted with Kingdom Hearts 3 and then Devil May Cry, so that's my bad. Anyway, today we are giving the best girl her long overdue spotlight, and to do so I'm going to use my own personal findings as well as the Plinkett character test to try and explain my belief as to why Makoto Niijima is such a standout in the admittedly crowded JRPG character community. As always, I need to stress, even though I'm going to use actual tools to try to explain this, at the end of the day, it's all just my opinion. Oh, and spoilers, I guess. Alright everyone, let's gun it. Oh, by the way, guys, I got to meet Jeremy Lee and Robbie Damon last week, and I still can't believe it. They're literally too nice and too cool. I can't handle it. Makoto Niijima is a third year at Shujin Academy and the younger sister of famed and ruthless prosecutor Sai Niijima. Makoto is described as the quintessential honor student at the top of her class and holds the position of student council president, painting her as an intimidating and authoritative presence amongst her peers. She first enters the main story when Principal Kobayakawa dangles a college letter of recommendation over her head in exchange for finding proof that the Phantom Thieves are indeed students that go to Shujin. With her own skills of deduction and Ryuji's lack of discretion, it doesn't take her very long to peg Ren and the gang as her prime suspects.
For real?
But rather than turn them in, she instead challenges them to change the heart of a mysterious mafia group harassing their student body, which leads to a spiral of events and mishaps that ultimately somehow result in Makoto joining the very thieves she was determined to take down, donning the alter ego of Queen and awakening to the persona Johanna. And while her initial impression amongst the group was combative and negative, it doesn't take long for them to accept her as a true friend, and they trust her enough to crown her as the P-Thieves' chief strategist and Joker's unofficial second in command. Friendship is magic, everyone.
次はどこに連れてってくれる?
Makoto is the second new party member to join after the original 4, and is available to the player during the third palace. With her inclusion comes the debut of the nuclear magical skill, a very powerful element that not a whole lot of enemies are immune to, which makes her a good choice to bring in for basically every boss that comes after her part of the game. And after Joker, she might just be the most versatile unit to use in combat. Her basic physical attacks do a good amount of damage and have a high accuracy rate, and the same rings true regarding her firearms, which while not as powerful as Ren's pistol or Ryuji's shotgun, is more reliable than Yustera On's. As powerful as her magical skills are, they can run through her SP pretty quickly, but thankfully she also has powerful area physical skills at her disposal if she does run low. But I would suggest equipping her with an accessory that either boosts her base SP count or something that gradually recovers it every turn. Early on, Morgana is a better healer, and while Makoto will never learn skills like Salvation, I would argue that she is actually a safer choice for your party than our feline friend for most of the game. For one, her defense is higher, and she's only weak to psychic attacks, which aren't that common early on in the game. And by the time they are prevalent, you can plan ahead and build up her resistance to it pretty quickly and pretty strongly. And unlike Morgana, she actually has buff skills that can raise the defense of your entire party. And if you don't like using Ann or Morgana, she also works as your primary healer. But her best use might just be as one of your main attackers, with Joker instead serving as your support character, but there's tons of room for mixing and matching. My personal loadout every time I play is Joker, Makoto, Yusuke, and a rotating fourth member depending on what most of the shadows roaming around are weak to. But what works for me might not work for you. I do own the platinum for this game though, so maybe I know what I'm talking about.
For real? For real? For real?
Then again, maybe not. So for anyone who doesn't know, like me 5 minutes before I began this script, the Plinkett character test is an exercise developed by Andy Kelly, a game critic and writer, and it is used to determine if a character is truly strong and not one-dimensional or a trope or what have you. And all you need to do for this test is describe your character using only their personality traits. The catch is you cannot describe them physically. And sure, at first that might not sound that hard, but I want all you kids at home to really think about some of your favorite characters and try describing them without talking about their design. It might be harder for some than you might believe at first. Think about characters like Master Chief in the original Halo or Jason Voorhees or something. I'm not saying these guys are bad characters, but I don't think it's controversial to say their personalities are what brought them to the dance. So for a test like this specifically, they might not do so well. With that said, let's see if our favorite Taurus will come out the other end of this gauntlet strong. Now, in my opinion, I think it's important to include both the positive and negative aspects of somebody's character when doing this activity. A fair amount of people, especially on the internet, like to think that a character has to be quote-unquote perfect to be good. And if a character has flaws or makes mistakes, that makes them a bad character, when in actuality, it's the opposite that's true. You'll see why I'm bringing this up in a little bit. Makoto is intensely driven, both in terms of the future and the present, but at the same time she can be short-sighted, oftentimes sacrificing her life as a young woman to further her own academic and professional life. Yet she wants to connect with her peers. She wishes to understand what they consider fun, what their dreams and what their desires are, because she cares about them, even if they believe she's just the hard-nosed council president. She's intelligent and analytical. Studying is a legit pastime for her, and she's always thinking about how to efficiently solve whatever problem stands in front of her, especially during her Phantom Thief responsibilities. But at the same time, she's headstrong to a fault, and is not immune to running into a situation she wasn't prepared for, which can put herself and those around her in danger. For how young she is very haunted and anxious as a person. The death of her police officer father, who was killed in the line of duty, hangs over her daily life as she mourns not only her dad, but the youth of her sister, who had to grow up quick in order to provide for young Makoto. Because of this, she feels immense guilt, as simply acting her age can make her feel like a waste of space in comparison to how hard her sister works to keep a roof over their heads. And Sai doesn't exactly help her believe otherwise.
The only reason you have time to think about that is because you depend on someone else. That's not... You don't have to do a single thing, and you're provided with food, clothes, a home. I've had no time to think on such ridiculous thoughts. Would Dad have been happy with them? I don't care. He died upholding some lofty sense of righteousness, leaving all his responsibilities on us.
All I was trying to say was...
Isn't it about time you grew up and acknowledged our situation? Right now, you're useless to me. All you do is eat away at my life. Sorry, that was uncalled for. I'm just really tired. I'll be eating dinner out from tomorrow on.
Makoto can surprise people with her warmth and nurturing nature, often acting as the team mom, making sure Ryuji actually studies for once or that Futaba eats enough. But she can be incredibly cold and threatening to anyone she feels either doesn't have her trust or don't have her or her friend's best intentions at heart. She's strong and confident, both physically, as she's trained in Aikido, and mentally. But she also has her moments of incredible insecurity. Her interactions with her sister are hesitant and almost mouse-like, as if she's afraid any word she says could cause Sai to explode. And when she later invites Ren to see a new crime movie with her, she actually hides how excited she is for it, using the excuse that she simply wanted to see it because of how respected the director was, only later admitting to him that she was afraid he would find her weird or unladylike for loving an action movie. Notice a theme here? Makoto is contradictory, which makes sense when you consider that she's at most 18 years old. I've seen a couple of people really badmouth her because they find her hypocritical, or they somehow think that she thinks she's better than the other Phantom Thieves. And everyone's allowed to have their own opinion, but come on guys, how many of you were perfect when you were in high school? I know I wasn't. And yes, there is some irony that Makoto gets the position of tactician right after coming up with a master plan of yelling at a bunch of Yakuza until they take her to their boss so that she can yell at him, but it comes from a place of wanting to do what's right, and I don't think she gets enough credit for that. People who aren't exactly fans of hers, to put it politely, like to paint her as some know-it-all who actually knows nothing, stick in the mud. Are there aspects of that character? Yes, there are some elements that could fit into that line of thinking, but she's so much more than that. Sure, she may look down at people at the beginning of the story, but the whole point of having a character arc in the first place is to start somewhere and grow from there, as evidenced by Makoto's own dialogue later on in the game, where she admits to not always being who she wanted to be. At her core, she is a kid who has been forced to make too many adult choices at too early an age. She can study every book she wants, but there comes a time when you just have to make the best of what you're given. And it's a shame that some people online never give her a chance because of a preconceived notion of her character, much the same way some of her classmates view her until a certain delinquent is forced to transfer to Shujin. She may have her flaws, but she is a character with strong desires. She knows she's too hesitant sometimes. She has a strong sense of right and wrong that she's ignored before, and she knows how wrong she was to do this. She wants to do better, but just like the rest of us, she can only do the best she can. She's not perfect, but honestly, in my eyes, that only makes me like her more. So, does Makoto pass the test? Again, this is only my opinion, but I think she does. She is an honor student, after all. As layered and expansive the main story of Persona 5 is, the real meat comes in the extra time you share with your confidants. As the player, you're given the option of simply befriending Makoto and getting to know her better, or you can romance her. Right now, I am going to briefly summarize her social events and examine her strengths as both a platonic friend and as a partner. You can begin Makoto's questline the day after you complete Kanashiro's palace in either late June or early July. She starts out by asking Ren what people their age do for fun, and since you, the player, are controlling him, you know the exact right thing to say, and offer to take her to the arcade right then and there. She's a little unsure how to handle herself, but eventually she finally begins to let loose a little.
Hey, over there! You play by aiming the gun at the screen, right? That actually seems somewhat realistic. If it's okay with you, do you think you could teach me? I did it! No way! Oh, so this is how it is.
And thus her friendship with Ren truly begins. They then come to an agreement that he will continue to take her out to different social spots and activities to show her basically how to be a teenager, and in a process she labels as broadening her horizons. Later, she enlists Ren to help her track down a Shujin student seen wandering a red light district, only to find she's simply working at a legitimate cafe, but Makoto does get to befriend the girl named Eiko, and in doing so, begins basically her first relationship with someone without the power to summon a persona. But all is not well, as Makoto quickly becomes suspicious of Eiko's older club host boyfriend Tsukasa, and in order to test Tsukasa's intentions, Makoto asks Ren to pretend to be her boyfriend so that they can go on a double date and scope the host out themselves. And because by now you are either a really good friend with her or secretly and madly in love with her, Ren, agreed to be Makoto's boyfriend. You know, for justice. Unfortunately, the duo are unable to dig up anything concrete on Tsukasa from their date alone, but they learn enough to agree that he is far from a reputable individual. In between all of this, Makoto admits to Ren privately that her father's murder is what cultivated her own sense of justice, and is why she is already so protective of Eito in the early stages of their friendship. Now, this is not explicitly stated, but rather implied that Ren is the only member of their group to learn about her father, as it's never brought up again in the main story except for a few scenes with Makoto and her sister. But Ren and Makoto don't give up and return to the Red Light District, and this time they learn that Tsukasa has a history of selling girls into service by manipulating them into paying for a fake debt he makes them believe he needs help paying. Something he has already begun to plant the seeds with Eito as she asks Makoto for money in an earlier scene, claiming Tsukasa dropped an expensive bottle at his club. So they confront Tsukasa with this publicly, and in front of Eito no less, but the host is quick to deny it and Eito is quick to believe him. However, Makoto had already thought ahead and pulls out her trump card. She asks Tsukasa one simple question: what is Eito's name, as he always calls her Princess? And after some unsuccessful attempts at deflecting the subject, he finally relents and calls Eito Makoto. But even then, Eito still has faith in Tsukasa and blames Makoto for everything, causing our girl to literally slap the sense back into her.
Damn!
So Eito walks away, needing time to reconsider her choices and get the feeling back into her jaw. So Tsukasa gets all up in Makoto's grill, saying he's not afraid of hitting the girl, and while Makoto's all ready to go queen on him and throw hands, Ren gets into Tsukasa's grill and basically says, "Let's throw down, homie," and Tsukasa runs away because he's a coward.
Coward? Yeah. I'm the coward. Wait, let me tell you about a coward. You're the one that gets up and walks away every single time. You're the coward. I am not a coward.
With their job finally done, our heroes now need to deal with the very public commotion they caused, so Ren decides to take Makoto to the Crossroads bar he sometimes works at. And after they're safely away from all the noise, Makoto experiences some doubt if it was all worth it, since she ended up causing Eito more pain. She then admits to Ren that Eito had told her once that she would flunk a test of love, and she asked Ren how is she supposed to improve in that area as she can't do something like that on her own. And from here, Ren can either tell her she'll meet her match someday and the two will continue on closer as friends, with Makoto grateful for all of Ren's help and his understanding, or Ren can tell her that he'll be her study partner.
You know, there was a lot I wanted to say, but none of it matters now that we are here together. And I've been waiting for you for so long. I'm not asking too much, am I?
Thank you.
Either way, no matter what choice you make, Makoto and Eito eventually repair their friendship, and Makoto finds her path in life, as she makes the decision to become a police officer and eventually police commissioner, to destroy the corruption that took her father's life and ruined Ren's. And after coming to this realization, she'll awaken to her new persona, Anat. I think it's obvious that Makoto is my favorite confidant, but it might surprise you to hear that I think she works just as well as a trusted friend as she does as a romantic partner. Her last social event during the non-romance route is a cute scene in a fast food restaurant where she's helping Ren study. She still tells Ren about her ambitions, but the conversation is lighter as they joke with one another, knowing that they will always have a deep bond based on their experience together and can always offer the other a shoulder to lean on when they need it. And if they don't pursue a romance, she can even act as a wingman for Ren, stating offhand that he would make a good pair with An. On the other hand, if Makoto and Ren do decide to become study buddies, her final scene will instead take place in Ren's bedroom.
Ooh.
Dante.
I'm sorry. I'm not sorry.
Anyway, in this timeline, Makoto will again state her police aspirations with a newfound confidence, though this time she'll add something a little bit extra to the end of it.
Even so, I'm glad I asked you. I think now I'll be able to see the world even more differently. Actually, I'm sure I can. Because I have you.
And after Makoto's persona evolves, the scene will end with her and Ren embracing as the screen fades to black. What I really liked about these events, and all the events with the other Phantom Thieves, is how the person in question and Ren will support one another regardless of their relationship status, and there will be a love no matter what. No matter what, Makoto wants people to see Ren the way she does, as evidenced by a rather throwaway line in her first scene with Eiko. But, and obviously some of my personal bias will show, Makoto is a very strong love interest that I think is a highlight in not only this game, but the entire series. Ren's calm and almost aloof demeanor, depending on how you play him, is a good match for Makoto's more serious and anxious nature. They accept one another despite their flaws, and the basis of their romance is helping one another improve. Oftentimes for their dates, they will go out to different parts of the city to try new food or go on roller coasters, and despite being his senior, Makoto has a definite lack of experience that I find really endearing. For example, she's scared to sit next to Ren on a Ferris wheel, blushing madly and gripping the edge of her skirt like it was the only thing keeping her from falling off a cliff. She doesn't know how to be a girlfriend, but she wants to learn because she does feel such passion for Ren, often to the point of intense blushing, as stated previously. And I could go on and on about this, but instead, how about I just show this scene from a later part in the game.
I made a fool of myself. Post-festival party has never felt that long before. By the way, I'm surprised you were able to say what you did back there. Huh? I was at a complete loss for words. You really helped me. Thank you. This may be a little rude to say, but you were surprisingly reliable in a pinch. My sister always says if I get married, my husband should be someone dependable like that. Oh, forget what I just said.
Any character is only as strong as the voice behind them, and in both the Japanese and English versions of Persona 5, Makoto is blessed with some incredibly talented thespians to pour love into her and bring her to life. In the original version, Makoto is voiced by Rina Sato, who gives her a deeper voice than An or Futaba that is filled with confidence and often gets to the point with sharp punctuations, which does a really great job of establishing her strength amongst the band of heroes. And in the anime, she mixes really well in scenes she shares with Ren, as his voice actor, Jun Fukuyama, has a similar deep tone that is sharp when he's in Joker mode and softer when he's just Ren, much like the dynamic between Makoto and Queen. And most characters are lucky to have one great voice actor, but Makoto has two. In the dub, she is played by the wonderful Jeremy Lee, who I met, by the way. Did I mention I met her? Because I did. I met her. She's awesome. Much like her Japanese counterpart, Jeremy gives Makoto a deep voice with a lighter, velvety undertone. Given the situation, Jeremy will bounce from giving Makoto an air of sophistication and elegance to an almost childlike wonder. When she's feeling confident, usually when she's taking charge with the others or in her element academically, her voice is rich and low. But when she's faced with something outside of her comfort zone, like say An or Futaba teasing her or Ren flirting with her, her voice will get almost squeaky or airy. And this might sound weird to some, but I think Jeremy does a really good job of having her voice match the expression of Makoto's eyes. They say that acting is all about the eyes, and you might not think that rings true for animation as well, and I don't even know if they directed her to do so, but in my opinion, Jeremy did it, and she knocked it out of the park. She's so good that I would watch the entire anime, which is alright but not great, as it could have been, all over again just to hear more of her performance. In Kombat, Makoto, or Queen's, battle cries are written to fit her almost immature love of action movies, but both Rina and Jeremy convey such an earnest sense of empowerment that it comes across as anything but cheesy. And it was a big reason why, besides that she was actually just a good unit to use, I kept her in my party for so long. I just liked hearing her quotes as she beat up shadows, which is important for, actual video game stuff. Of all the characters, besides maybe Joker, I personally think that Makoto has the best of both worlds and the smallest drop-off between the dub and the sub versions of her. Because I think of someone like Ryuji, and I think he's better in the dub than the sub, but with Makoto, I'm never taken out of a scene if I'm switching from one version to the other, which is an amazing accomplishment in any kind of voice work and something that I know I am mildly impressed with.
Thank you for all your help. Must have been difficult babysitting the uptight Miss President, right? Just kidding.
So I've been babbling on for God knows how long at this point, but I hope I was able to at least capture some of why I think Makoto is such a great character. I think there's a lot going on underneath the surface with her, and I believe there's a reason why she's so popular amongst the fandom besides just her design. What always amazes me personally with my own journey with her is that the first time I played the game, she wasn't even the person I chose to romance, but when I got to know her, she just captured all of my attention with her personality and her stories, so much so that I immediately began a new playthrough the moment I finished it just to reunite with her. And she's not only become my favorite Persona character, but one of my favorite characters, period. So hopefully I was able to do her just a little justice. So I'd like to thank anyone who made it through this entire video. Be sure to leave a like and a comment if you did enjoy it. Share it with a friend, and if you didn't like it, share it with somebody you didn't like. That works too. And you know what? Subscribe to our channel because we're doing a Persona 5 Let's Play right now. And tap that little bell to be notified whenever we put up new quest log videos, which we're going to try to do weekly, but we'll see if that holds up. Anyway, guys, that's all I got. If you made it this far, then I love you. I'll see you next time, because today we talked about the best girl, but next time we talked about the best boy.